This movie provides a brief overview of ornaments typically found in literature for stringed instruments. The end of the video contains a list of additional sources of information for the viewer who wishes to learn more about ornamentation and string playing, particularly music of the 18th century. The appoggiatura is an auxiliary note that should be played on the beat with emphasis, borrowing its time from the main note. Appoggiaturas are very prevalent in 18th century orchestral literature. The string music of the late Baroque contains many trills of varied lengths. The appoggiatura trill begins on the note above the written pitch, in other words, the upper auxiliary. A supported appoggiatura trill also begins on the note above the written pitch, but the appoggiatura pitch is held before entering into the trill. Some modern texts insist that all Baroque trills must start on the note above the written pitch and never on the main written note. But as Neumann has observed, there was in use a far wider range of designs than modern research has tended to acknowledge. There are some trills in Baroque music where beginning on the main note may be appropriate, as in this example from Handel's Concerto Grosso, Opus 6, No. 5. The music of the classical era contains trills with written-out termination as well as trills without termination, as in the previous Handel example. As in the Baroque era, trills typically begin on the upper auxiliary note. Trills in the music of the early Romantic composers, Schubert and Weber, are still in the classical style, with trills beginning on the upper auxiliary note. The trill begins on the written note instead of the upper auxiliary in the music of later Romantic composers, such as Mendelssohn, Schumann, Brahms, and Tchaikovsky. Fingered tremolo is a special left-hand technique that functions like a continuous trill between two fingers, typically in the interval of a second, third, or fourth. Fingered tremolo can be measured or unmeasured. Famous examples of this technique can be found in the finale of Brahms' Third Symphony, in Debussy's Prelude, Afternoon of a Faun, and Stravinsky's Firebird Suite. Focus on smooth bow changes with very accurate timing of the change in fingering. If you are performing a work with ornaments, take some time to do reading about the ornaments from that time period. Listen to recordings by musicians specializing in music from that time. Determine how you'll try executing the ornaments, and feel free to experiment with different approaches to starting and ending trills. The musicians of the 18th, 19th, and 20th centuries certainly did. This list of resources is by no means comprehensive, but I've found all of these books very informative. Gemignani, Mozart, and Quantz are 18th century treatises, and Frederick Neumann's text is an excellent modern scholarly work on ornamentation.